So Jim Cornette and Stan Lane are in the NWA with Bobby Eaton. They leave. Jimmy starts up his own territory. How do you get the call to be Stan's new tag team partner?
I was in Memphis, Tennessee, and this is about my last or my third or fourth time in Memphis, man. And I always said if you couldn't get booked in Memphis, you couldn't get booked anywhere. So, but I was in Memphis. I've been there about a year, and Eric Embry was booking. We having a good time. I mean, it was okay, but I was sitting in my uh, apartment in Nashville, and I get a call from Jim Cornette, and he lays this out to me that he and Stan have left NWA and or WCW, excuse me, and he was going to start up a new territory in Knoxville. And Bobby had a contract with WCW. He couldn't leave. He had a family, and I understood that. And he was looking for a partner for Stan. So I immediately agreed because now I'm getting to be hooked up with Jimmy and Stan Lane, which was awesome. And I gave my notice and came to Smoky Mountain Wrestling in Knoxville, Tennessee, and it was awesome. I think Stan, he had already pioneered a few territories. He was part of the fabulous ones. I was going to say the heavenly ones, but the fabulous ones was Steve Kern in Tennessee, and he had already had a run with the Midnight Express. And so after, I don't know, 6 months or whatever it was, Stan kind of said, I don't know. I don't like this coming back and forth from Charlotte to Knoxville and making the money he's making. So he decided to quit, retire, and we had to find a partner within a week. And lo and behold, Kevin Sullivan's the guy who recommended Jimmy Del Rey, and said, this guy, he can work. He looks, he didn't say he looks good, but he said he could work. And he could do anything you want him to. And when Jimmy showed up, man, here's this redheaded guy, wasn't a kid at that time, a front tooth missing, and smoking cigarettes in the locker room. So, and everybody's kind of looking at him like, who is this guy? And we went out, and all of a sudden he turned it on, and he could work, and we had great matches. So everybody found out who he was real quick.
What was your history with Jim Cornette before Smoky Mountain?
I knew Jimmy when I first went to Memphis. That's when I met him in, I think, 1982. And we had crossed paths back and forth. There was a time when, when Dennis left the Midnight Express, that he was looking to see if I was available. But that was at the time WCW also inherited the Florida territory, and Stan Lane was in the Florida territory, so they just put him in that Midnight Express spot. And that was a great spot for him. So I know Jim since 82, I think.
Any there's no reason why you wouldn't go to Smoky Mountain. You figure Jim Cornette is asking you to go. He's the owner, so you're on top. It's going to be a tag team territory. So that's probably not a hard decision.
No, it wasn't a hard decision at all. Like I said, I'd been in Memphis for a year. We had done everything we could do, and it was about time to leave. But yeah, Jim has a smart mind. He knows wrestling. He knows what to do, and he's entertaining. So you're right. I knew it was going to be a top spot. Knew it was going to be a tag team territory. The Rock and Roll Express. I mean, my gosh, those guys were a night off every night. So yeah, it was a no-brainer for me, man. It was time to go, and I was ready to go.
How long did you and Stan actually work as a team? Was it like 2-3 years?
No, I think it was close to maybe six, maybe 7 or 8 months. And
That's it. Okay.
Yeah. And then he had enough. I don't know if it was me or just the territory, but no, he'd had enough, man, and he was ready to move on.
Let's see. He was with Kern for what, 10 years, Bobby for 5, you for 6 months. Yeah, it might have been you, Doc.
Yeah, it might have been me. Yeah, exactly. It could have been me. I'll accept that.
How did you like working with Stan?
I loved working with Stan. Stan had a great personality, funny, entertaining. We made trips, a couple trips with Stan, myself, and Jim, and it was great. I think it was just a little too late, and the territories were already going away, and Jim finally found that out. We were doing what we could do, but there's only so much you can do. especially during that time. Times were changing, and they were changing fast.
The fans there, any crazy fan interactions, any run-ins?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm living in Knoxville right now, and I love Knoxville. Knoxville's great, a great town. It's for me, I like the mountains. I like the desert too, and I also like the beach. So, but when we were in Smoky Mountain, they were real wrestling fans. They knew professional wrestling. They wanted to cheer the good guys, wanted to boo the bad guys. They wanted to interact. They wanted to have fun. And once we knew that, I mean, we knew that from the beginning. But once that was established, we were having fun too. And the only thing was, as I said, you know, WWF at the time was on the rise, and territories were rapidly going away. Memphis was hanging on by a thread. And so the fans in Knoxville, for some reason, the fans in Tennessee, I don't want to say they never changed, but they always had that support for professional wrestling, or wrestling as they call it here. And you know, wrestling can be fun. Wrestling is you know, good old Southern fighting and scrapping and kicking, and these people here love a good fight. So you got to go out there and you got to really work to get their emotions up. But once you did that, it was cool.
I worked one Smoky Mountain TV taping, and I have 15 Jim Cornette stories I can tell. I've known Jim. Jim's been the best. What the stories, we could probably do a couple hours just on your Jim Cornette stories. Any classic Cornette story you could give me?
Well, you know, I remember one time we were in Johnson City, and when you in Johnson City, it was a real nice arena, and I had gone up to the very top to watch the first 3 matches. I just wanted to see, you know, I was wanted to see the house. I wanted to see the matches. So I was up there for 3 matches, and when I got back, come to find out, Jimmy was looking for me to go over our match, and I already knew what our match was, and I already knew what we were going to do. All I needed to do is get the finish. Well, I didn't know the finish was a 12-page, you know, dialogue we had to go over pretty quick. You know, Jimmy wrote everything down in meticulous notes, and he had wrecked his racket. He had hit his racket on a steel or a cement post and destroyed his racket. And he was so mad at me that night. The next day, I went and got him a racket from Sports Authority, and he gave it to him, you know, because I felt so bad. But Jimmy, he was very passionate, and is still passionate about whatever he feels that strongly about. And yeah, there were a few Jim Cornette stories, but that's one of the tamer ones I can tell, you know, publicly. Yeah.
I always say that if you go to a show, you look the part, you act the part, you have your ears open, your mouth shut, and you show the respect for the guys who did this before you, Jim Cornette will have all the time in the world for you.
Oh yeah, exactly. You know, if you love the business, respected the business, and knew and showed that you wanted to be there, Jimmy will help you with anything he can.